So after that win against the Milwaukee Bucks, let's do a standings check to see where the Charlotte Hornets are in the Eastern Conference. After that win, they stand at 21-19 on the season. So a couple games above 500. They've been kind of flirting with that mark all season long, and here they are a couple of games above. Now they stand in the 8th spot, 21-19. They are a half game back of the Toronto Raptors. And here come the Cleveland Cavaliers, falling closer and closer to the pack.
Here go the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah. I guess if you're behind them, then they are going away instead of coming back to you. But they're 4-6 in the last 10 games. Ricky Rubio hurt for the season. Huge part of what Cleveland was able to do, him being a leader, doing the facilitating thing up with Cleveland. And so now they're 4 games above 500, coming back to the pack a little bit with the Raptors, Hornets, Wizards, Boston Celtics, even New York Knicks can be considered in that part as well at 19-21. And so you look at the Hornets just a game behind the Cleveland Cavaliers to get in that 6th spot. Then it's Philadelphia, where the Hornets are 2 games behind, and that's pretty much where you're living. Milwaukee, Miami, Brooklyn, Chicago, they're all 4 games or more above you in the standings, and I don't see that changing. So when we talk about a playoff spot, getting in an outright top 6 spot, Doug, I think the highest you probably are looking at for Charlotte this year, it's that 5 spot, and that assumes Philly doesn't end up getting it together with a Ben Simmons, which you can't really depend on that. Any kind of trade, just whatever, right? Changes could be coming for Philly. 5 spot still seems like the ceiling to me.
I think 6, honestly, I think 6 spot might be the ceiling for me at this point because, look, Philly's won 6 in a row. I think they're figuring it out. I think they only get better if they make some kind of deal at the trade deadline. I really think the 1 through 5 in some kind of order is locked in the East: Bulls, Nets, Heat, Bucks, Sixers, pending some kind of weird injury, which you would hate to see. I mean, I want to see a competitive Eastern Conference. I don't want to see the Hornets, get a 5 seed that way. So I think the battle is for that 6th seed to avoid the play-in game, and they have 2 games against Cleveland left. The series is split right now 1-1, and they have all 3 games against Toronto left. So tiebreakers are totally available for the Hornets if they win those big games in the second half season. And Washington, I think Washington, Boston, Charlotte, Toronto, Cleveland, all going to be fighting tooth and nail for that 6th seed. So it should be really interesting down the stretch.
Yeah, huge games. That's why we thought the Washington loss was such a big one that they allowed the Wizards. They got off to an awful start, came back, had a double-digit lead, and then the Wizards went crazy in the 4th quarter, just like they did the first, and that was a big loss for them. So Cleveland, you mentioned a couple of those games, a couple of those series. They are going to be pretty big. All right, Doug, let's get to this marketing campaign for the Charlotte Hornets with the All-Stars that they have potentially in place, a LaMelo Ball, a Miles Bridges. I think Terry Rozier is making an appearance in that one as well. And so when we look at the Charlotte Hornets' history of marketing their players, I think it's absolutely phenomenal. I remember the Kemba Walker Most Improved Player campaign. That was really cool. The best one probably is Big Al's Paint, when they gave paint cans and T-shirts to everybody, all the members in the media. I think you could get that too if you were a fan, like one of those giveaways, first 500 or whatever it was. But they usually do a really good job at this. Good Burger is now the marketing campaign that they're rolling with LaMelo and Miles Bridges and some of the other players on the Charlotte Hornets team. Everybody loves Good Burger, right? It's classic. I don't know how it ties into this. I'm not sure how it ties in with LaMelo or any of the other players on the team. I feel like this is more of an idea problem than it is an execution problem. How do you see this marketing campaign with the Hornets?
So the Hornets have, traditionally had really great campaigns. The one that you mentioned was like highlighting Kemba Walker's excellent shooting, so it had like a Western theme.
That's
and
right. I forgot about
that was I think that was one of the maybe the most improved of the All-Star campaigns. But then you had the S'more Graham campaign.
Oh,
that was great.
Right.
Big Al's Paint, and then one of my favorites was the MKG All Defense team. They did like a security thing, and I thought that was super cool too, like a security system campaign. That MKG was your security system. So yes, they have had great campaigns. I'm not totally in love with this one because I would challenge you. Does everyone love Good Burger?
Oh, I think so. I stand by that statement. Everybody loves Good Burger.
I'm not saying that people don't. I'm not challenging the love part. People that know Good Burger love Good Burger. I'm
Okay.
challenging the everyone part. I don't
Okay.
think that everyone gets that. It took me a second, honestly, and I grew up with Good Burger. I'm like, what are they doing here? And I did a lot of drama in high school and college, and the one thing that they press into you is that if you're going to make a choice, you have to make a choice. If anyone kind of gets your idea, then they don't get your idea. Then your idea wasn't executed properly. It needs to be obvious, and I think they have to skirt around certain, copyright kind of things. But at the end of the day, I'm like, what is the Buzz City Burgers? Like, I don't get it. And I think it's not working for me, Walker.
Yeah, no, it's not working for me either, not nearly as much. And part of the problem is that the Hornets have set the bar pretty unbelievably high, and they
Yeah.
answer that bar so consistently. I forgot all about the s'more graham thing, and they they really gave graham crackers out, chocolates, marshmallows to everybody in the media. And I remember sitting at the 7:30 the game station just eating some s'mores while we're about to do a radio show because they passed it out. I
Like
forgot all about that one.
whatever you think about that idea, the s'more thing or the security system or the Big Al's paints can, like you got it. You
Oh,
got
yeah.
the idea. That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure this landed with the punch that they wanted to. And I think it goes to a complaint that I'm seeing amongst some of the fans that, that the All-Star push for LaMelo Ball hasn't been as vociferous as those fans would have liked. And I don't know how fair that accusation is, but it's a feeling amongst of LaMelo's fan base. And look, he comes in fifth place and amongst guards in the East. And I laid some of that on the feet of LaMelo's fan base. But I think it's fair to also question, like, have the Hornets, has the organization done everything they can to profile this guy and say, that he deserves more All-Star love? I'm not sure.
Well, and part of that problem too, I think, is the fact that LaMelo has as good of a shot to get in as anybody, where Kimba, you had to fight for Kimba a little bit to
Yeah.
make these. Like, he was always right there on the line of whether he would get in. There was one year where I believe it was Goran Dragic who got in ahead of him, and there were a couple of other players that people were mad at that got in ahead of Kimba. Eventually, he would be named to the All-Star game, but it was after, like, injuries and, the different things that took place. Al Jefferson, when you're trying to hype him up in a Bobcats era, it's going to be tough. You got your work set out for you. You need to make sure, hey, we've got something pretty cool here in Charlotte with this Bobcats franchise. Pay attention to Big Al's paint because he's the best low post scorer in all the NBA. LaMelo, I mean, everybody's talking about him. Like ESPN, he's all the time on these big time publications, these big time accounts. And I wonder if that is part of the reason of, well, the message is out on LaMelo. Like, do we help out any of these other players, and or do we have to do it as much as we have helped?
That's part of, I think that's part of the frustration of LaMelo Ball fans. Is like, why are we doing these group projects? Like, just
yeah, give him his own.
Highlight the actual future of the frame. Like, there's one player I love what Miles is doing this season. Terry, certified gamer. I'm all over Terry Rozier. I think he's earned every cent of his contract, and I think Miles Bridges has earned every cent already of whatever contract he ends up getting from the Hornets or some other team. But I think it's clear there's one player and one player only that will lift this franchise into possible Eastern Conference elite contention, and it's one LaMelo Ball. And maybe some more singular focus should be put on that idea while he's still wearing teal and purple.
What is cool, though, I think those are probably his best friends on the team, is who he's doing this campaign with. I think it's Miles Bridges and Terry Rozier.
There's the other thing, too, is I don't know if LaMelo really gets the Good Burger thing, because he's totally too young. You know what I'm saying? He's totally too young for the Good Burger thing.
Is.
So they're just sort of, I would have liked to have seen, personally, an all-star campaign that maybe involved Terry and Miles, but that was more something in LaMelo's wheelhouse. Because you got to get the players to be super invested in the campaign, because otherwise, I think that's part of why I didn't love this, because like some of the promos and stuff that I've seen so far, I'm just like, it's just kind of falling flat. It doesn't feel like there's just like full engagement. And I think part of that has to do with the fact that the idea is not totally jiving.
Yeah, we'll see.
Anyway.
We didn't even address, by the way, when we got to the Giannis foul calls, we didn't even address that it's been in your your background the entire time. Today's podcast has been called for a foul on Giannis Antetokounmpo. I just kind of want you to start pulling the Woody Page idea and just having something different back there, at least for the start of every single show. We should do that. That's
I'll do
more
my
work
best,
for you.
but you know when I promise something, you know, the B suit is a miracle. It's a miracle that tomorrow when you turn on your YouTube channel,
I forgot.
we will actually be wearing B suits because we tend to say we're going to do things. And then
it's changed a little bit this new era, though. This refreshed,
YouTube.
Recycled era.
There's an
I feel like it's
accountability
changed.
to people seeing our faces.
That's right.
And seeing what we're doing here. So tune in tomorrow, Tuesday show on YouTube. We'll be wearing the B suits. And if we get to 1,000, we'll wear the B suits again and paint our faces teal.
Why are you combining these things? That was not a part of the original plan. Why are we?
Because I want
it?
the attention. I want the love of the fans. I want 1,000 YouTube subscribers.
You can have it. I don't want it. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Hornets your first listen every day.
We'll get a dunk tank. We'll dunk Walker in a dunk tank.
This is the part where I'm supposed to tease the next episode, and yet I don't want to. But the B suits tomorrow. Goodness gracious. Make sure your second listen is Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and it's available on all platforms. Tomorrow, B-suits and all. Be there. We'll be there on the Locked On Hornets podcast.